confession to make. If you've been watching these reviews, you know I love sleuthing. Um, but I am fucking terrible at sleuthing. Um, most days I can barely find my keys. If you need a loved one found, I'm not the guy to come to. I'd love to be the guy to come to. I wish I was good at it. I've got so much corkboard and red string just raring to go. And I would love to have a crack. I'm just not good at it. I can't tell you how many times I've watched like a crime procedural and gone, it's that guy, it's the weird fucking postman for sure, and then some like the sheriff of NCIS or whatever will come on and go, you know, as suspected, we raided the boyfriend's home and all the evidence pointed to him, so we've made the arrest. And then for some reason, because my fragile ego can't take it, even though I'm in an empty room, which is even fucking weirder, I have to walk my proclamation back and think, yes, the boyfriend, just as I suspected, suspect B, as I like to call him. I don't know why, I'm just bad at it. And the reason I bring that up is because The Empty Man is a crime drama. Above all, I mean, it's a hard movie to describe, but it is a crime drama at its heart. If you asked writer-director David Pryor what type of horror movie this was, he would probably just have to say yes. This is by far the most ambitious film I think I've ever seen in terms of genre. It's a crime drama aged in a cult documentary barrel, spiced with an urban legend, and served with a side of found footage film. There are so many cliches hit, and they're hit well, that while at points I feel like some people can get like plot and tonal whiplash, you've got to admire it. You've got to respect it. You've got to respect the daring of the team that made this, especially considering Disney funded it. This is a Disney film, technically. It has a fairly ordinary premise, but it's delivered with like extraordinary execution. In The Empty Man, you follow ex-cop James LaSombra, played by the actor James Badge Dale, which is weird because that's by far a more copy name than his real name. But he sort of takes on a missing persons case of his neighbour's daughter, and through his investigation, he basically finds that all roads lead to this mysterious entity called the Empty Man. That's the name. It's pretty much a one-man show. Like, James Badge Dale is fucking great in this, and what I love dearly is that he's playing a sane man trying to decipher all these insane people, and it leads to really comedic moments. There's a scene where he inadvertently walks into like danger, and you think he's going to do something badass or crazy, and he looks around and just goes, fuck this, and just runs back to his car and drives away. Like, that's the scene. 12 out of 10, great character, no notes, super realistic. I love it when people do realistic shit in horror movies. It's awesome. This movie isn't outright scary, but there's lots of goosebumps-inducing moments. The first one's about 3 minutes in, where you get to see one of the best skeleton designs in any movie of all time. This thing looks like it stepped out of the Tibetan version of Prometheus. As soon as I saw it, I actually got goosebumps. Like, it's so good. There's actually a lot of fantastic temple symbolism in this movie. They use whispers and throat singing to really devastating effect. I watched this with headphones on, and when the whispers started, I actually, like, my brain couldn't turn off, and I had to keep, like, checking to make sure no one was actually whispering in my ear. Like, it was that effective. And it does creepy really well. There are so many characters in this that have what I like to call terminal cases of resting cult face. Like that really sinister customer service face. Fake smile, shark eyes sort of shit. There's a receptionist at one of the buildings in this that James talks to, and she's the only person I think I've ever seen that I thought she was wearing a mask, but it was just her face. Like, that's how like stretched and stuff the smile was. It was just her face, but it was just it looked all plasticky and fake. It was just really, really well done as far as like face acting. Um, Caveat though, this movie, it's going to ask a lot of time investment from you. It's almost 2.5 hours long, um, and it is fucking completely unconcerned with its runtime. Like the first 22 minutes of this movie are like really, really good mountain survival horror, and then after that section is done, it hits you with the title card. Like that's 22 minutes till the title card, almost to say like that's just the entree. Here's the actual movie. Now, some people who review this movie got pissed off with that, and I understand it. But the first part is so good. Like, it could be its own short film. It's so good. And the supernatural crime epic that follows was so weird, and the pacing and the intrigue is so strong that it doesn't feel like a marathon for me. David Pryor actually worked under David Fincher, who did, like, Seven, and he's sort of taken a little bit of that pacing and used it in this film. I was not bored at all during this film. Yeah, I could watch a whole film just on the first 22 minutes. Like, if they'd stretched that, I would have watched the shit out of that film. Side note, fuck spelunking. Like, you're telling me that you're going to crawl into some crevice in a mountain where there's limited light, limited oxygen, and almost no space to actually escape, and just hang out. All in the name of a sport that sounds like it was named by a toddler. Fuck no. There's better ways to die. There's better ways to die as far as I'm concerned. Like, imagine having to tell someone your loved one died from being spelunked. As far as I'm concerned, unless you're Bruce Wayne, stay the fuck out of underground caves. It's just, God, what a terrible, terrible way to go. I say that just because there's like, I know it's a small part. There's like 2 minutes of spelunking in this film, but as soon as I was watching it, I was like, fuck no. I had to get this off my chest. I fucking hate spelunking. It's such a bad idea. Stay out of caves. This movie, I would actually describe this movie as like a horror version of Forrest Gump, because like Forrest Gump, you sort of, by the end of it, you sort of go like, how did they fit so many separate stories and plot points into this one film? This apparently started as a graphic novel, and that makes a lot of sense, because you can actually tell by the runtime and the structure of the plot, you could actually break this up into 6 distinct issues. And I'm saying something I almost never say when it comes to horror movies. This is one of the few films that would actually lend itself really well to a TV series. But, I mean, I'm stoked they made it a movie, because it's a fantastic, abstract, sort of cosmic crime horror. I do have one major gripe with this movie, and that's when you throw in so many different plot points, it's really hard to tie them together at the end. Movies that successfully tie together multiple plot points are usually ones that are hailed as like the greatest of all time. You know, stuff like Silence of the Lambs, Seven, Zodiac, and this movie, because you know the plot points are so complex, it's hard to make them all pay off. And this movie does trip over itself just a little bit at the end. But that's such a minor, you know, that's still like 2 and a bit hours of good film in this movie that are worth your time. I'm telling you, it's good. I didn't expect to like this as much as I did. It's fucking good. I would recommend watching this if you love sleuthing, you like me, get your little detective hat on in your notebook. This is that. If the idea of the movie Zodiac hitting the old like DBZ fusion dance with the Candyman excites you, this film's for you, man. This is it. It's fucking awesome. I don't recommend watching this if you've got places to be and you've got no spare time. I get it. Hashtag grindset, hustle, always be closing. 2 wolves, all that shit. If you want lots of jump scares, this movie isn't that. It's scary just because it gives you goosebumps and creeps, but it's not like a scary film. If you're a spelunker, don't watch this film. Terrible things happen to spelunkers in this film. So if that's going to freak you out, don't do it. This movie is an underrated gem. It got released during COVID, which is probably why it bombed and didn't make its money back at the box office. It's also you could argue it's a touch too long, but if runtimes, Tibetan throat singing, and the ritual of Bloody Mary doesn't deter you, this movie's a fucking wild crime drama. Plus, character actor Stephen Root's in this. He's in lots of shit, but he's like everything he does. He's fucking great in this. I'm not alone in my praise for this movie, by the way. Everyone's favorite Mexican horror father, Guillermo del Toro, obviously liked this film because he gave David Pryor an episode of Cabinet of Curiosities on the back of this film. So I'm not completely full of shit. If Del Toro likes it, surely I've got some. I'm not way out of pocket recommending it. But yeah, that's The Empty Man. If you do sit down and invest the time in watching this, let me know what you think. As always, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.